Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe. And we're off and running. We're actually sitting. So I hope you don't mind that I said running. I don't want to start off with a lie. We're trying to build trust here on the program. I am with my buddy Agnes. We are somewhere east of the Rocky Mountains. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Hello.
It's actually very Coors Light of us. Somewhere near Golden, Colorado. It's like I used very early on in my comedy career, like 20 years ago, I had a joke about like, so what's going on? It's like, does Coors Light think they're like Batman? They can't give away their exact location? Like somewhere near Golden, Colorado. It's like no one needs your secret for water beer.
Maybe they do.
maybe they do. So Agnes, thanks for being on the show.
Happy to be here.
We've been exploring out here a little bit today. It's been a really delightful, actively relaxing day, and there's been I don't have the pop screen on this microphone. Do you hear me popping a lot of my peas?
No.
My peas are popping. Anyway, I've had half a pale ale, so I'm like in the bag over here. I think it's the elevation.
It's getting to you.
I'm kind of giving away clues about location. So I'm above sea level right now. That's all I'll tell you. So anyway, there's a couple stories that I want to get into. One of these stories, I'm hoping I'll be able to insert the audio. And I've never heard this audio, and I need to give a trigger warning. If you are one of these people listening and you don't want to hear nature, the brutality of nature. This is probably one of the most terrifying things I could ever think to hear in my life. Do you know what I'm getting ready to reference? I want you to tell me the story about the bear and the wolves.
Okay.
Because this is, to me, like, this is reason number one that I never want to be outside again.
It was a lot.
I'm just signaling you the microphone.
Oh, okay.
To be a little closer. I was trying to do these hand signals. I
was about to throw the mic across the room. I'm like, God damn it. This is the story you want?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Well, just to start out, because this isn't the paranormal. We're going to get into some paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's some really wild stuff.
Yeah. And this was wild animals. So I went camping in 2022 in northern Minnesota just to get a break from something I was going through. And there was a bear that had been visiting the campground, and they had tried to take a pole to secure the lids, the trash can lids on the... This is going to be horrible. This is going to be a terrible fucking story. But I'm going to just keep going, so maybe you can edit that out. Yeah, it was just a bear that was roaming through the campground, and people were familiar with it. And I was in a wall tent, and for some reason, this tent gave me the sense of security that I needed in order to just stay out there with a bear actively rummaging through this campground.
Are we talking about a black bear or a grizzly bear?
A black bear.
Okay, so slightly less terrifying than a grizzly bear, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because grizzly bears, they like, once they taste human blood, they want, I'm kidding. The grizzly bears seem to be more aggressive.
Definitely.
Okay.
And my experience with black bears were that if you put your food away, you were going to be okay. So it was fine. They were, size-wise, they were intimidating. But other than that, if you were a responsible camper, then you were just fine.
A more sensible bear.
Yes, a sensible bear. You could reason with this bear, I think.
Reason with a black bear.
Yeah. So I had been up there for a couple of weeks, and I had been hiking in the area.
So just to set the stage a little bit here, we're talking about someone who's very experienced. We're talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's very experienced solo backpacking,
Mm-hmm.
camping, familiar. You are not a stranger to the woods. Like, you don't go out into the woods and like, oh, what was that noise? You're not a scaredy cat. Not like, especially like me. I'm a scaredy cat, especially because I haven't been out there in like, for the most part, in 5 years, at least camping out. But you're very comfortable in wilderness.
Yes.
So I think that's important to make sure everyone understands that.
Mm-hmm. I was quite comfy. In fact, this was kind of like car camping, basically, because I had this huge tent. I had a cot set up. I had a wood stove. It was like a little portable home in the woods. I was very comfortable. What was new to me were wolves, the presence of wolves. And I would see their footprints while I was out hiking and had heard them, but they were so far away. It was just like this experience of like, oh, wow, that is powerful and amazing. But I wasn't really worried about them breaking into my tent. And then, oh, fuck. I don't even want to tell this story.
Okay, well, if you don't want to tell it, maybe.
No, I can tell
give
it.
the synopsis real quick and just let people know what it was? Maybe I shouldn't play the. I mean, it's
creepy. I mean, you've heard it, right? Or
no, I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking about putting audio in here that I haven't even heard yet, but I will tell you that just knowing what it is, just like the descriptor of like, like the most basic form of describing what this is, A plus B equals C.
Mm-hmm.
I already know it's going to be the creepiest thing I've heard in a really long time, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a voice memo that I recorded one night when I was dead asleep. I had had a long day, and I had been hearing the wolves. It seemed like they were closer, but I wasn't really concerned about it. And then I dreamt that I heard Chewbacca, like, fighting for his fucking life. And it was like, I started the voice memo, which you'll hear, and I'm like, I'm recording right now from my tent, and I thought that I was having a dream of Chewbacca, and then you hear these fucking wolves and a bear screaming for its life. And it goes on, and I couldn't believe what it was that I was fucking hearing. Like, it was so surreal, and I had just woken up, and...
Middle of the night?
I think it was 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, God.
I started recording, I think, at 2:27. The end of the recording was not long after that. And then I started recording again when the wolves started howling, like in celebration of their victory. So I basically recorded a bear getting eaten by a pack of wolves in the north woods of Minnesota.
By the Canadian border, and then a celebratory dance and song.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I don't think I am speaking out of turn when I say there are a few things more terrifying that I could imagine than being surrounded by wolves.
Yeah.
I think most people would agree that's a pretty reasonable fear to have. Being out in the woods, because wolves, they're like really good at surrounding you. Like, I mean, that's their whole thing, right?
Right.
They hunt in packs. You see a wolf in front of you, that means there's 4 wolves behind you. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. And unless you're Liam Neeson in that movie, whatever it's called, me and my friends, we just call it Wolf Puncher, you're done for. And I think he maybe even, spoiler alert, for this movie I can't remember the name of, I think he might die in the movie. I don't know. But we just know he punches wolves. And it's like, who does that? Right?
Yeah.
So there is nothing more terrifying to me than being surrounded by wolves.
Absolutely.
Because they're faster than I am.
They're smart.
They're smarter than I am.
They're organized.
They're definitely more organized than I am. I mean, every wolf I've ever met has a daily planner, and they actually stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're stronger And I mean, they're just, and also they have a hunger deep inside.
Yeah.
And their teeth are sharper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, gosh, I mean, now I feel like I should do a Werner Herzog where it's just me listening to the audio but not playing the audio. Like, did you ever see the documentary Grizzly Man?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Talk about another thing that'll make you never want to go camping or again, or at least if you're someone like me. Are you familiar with that guy? I wish I could remember his name. God, I mean, I'm doing such a disservice to his memory. This guy who would go, I think in Alaska, and he would just go live with grizzly bears. And and everyone thought he was insane. This guy was like, he was totally in Zen. He was synced up with these grizzlies. Then one year, and he takes his girlfriend. She goes with him. Mm-hmm. And Werner Herzog makes a documentary, right? So, I mean, this documentary's been out for 15 years at least, so I'm not spoiling it. And you should still watch it because even what I'm about to say, it's an incredible documentary because of the footage that he gets. He just sets up like a camera, like a handy cam on a tripod in a field, and you just see him kind of hanging out with grizzly. It's insane. And there's no one around. He's literally off the grid, right?
Is he naked?
No, he's not naked. But it would make it even better.
Is she naked?
No, she's not in it until the very... I mean, she goes... The last time he ever goes is when she goes. Because the speculation is that it was her time of the month. And the blood...
No. Oh, my God.
Drew the grizzlies.
What the fuck?
There is... And Werner Herzog, even though he's a completely certifiable maniac, did not include the audio in the documentary of what was to ensue. But you do see footage of Werner Herzog wearing headphones, listening to the audio.
That piece of shit.
It is the audio of them being eaten alive by grizzly bears. So, yeah, I don't want to hear that audio.
Yeah, you're
You know
right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear that. Now, do I want to hear the audio of a black bear being eaten alive by wolves? I guess I do because we're getting ready to put it in. So, trigger warning, you're going to need to see. How long is the recording?
I don't know.
With the celebratory dance, would you guess it's more than a minute? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe I should just do a snippet.
Yeah, do a snippet. Because there is a lot of me going, am I actually hearing this? And
really? Okay. So we're going to play the whole thing. Unless is it 5 minutes long?
No.
Okay, so trigger warning. You're going to need to skip ahead at least 3 or 4 minutes. If you do not want to hear a black bear being attacked by wolves.
Fighting for her life.
Fighting for its life. Going down swinging, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I don't even know if I want to hear it, but we're going to put it in and I'm going to listen to it in real time. Actually, I'm not going to do commentary on it, but we're going to put it in and we'll have the mics live as well. So we're going to do that now. So again, trigger warning. This is a real recording of a bear being attacked by wolves and being eaten alive, being killed. So please skip ahead at least 3 minutes or so if you don't want to hear this. Oh, and by the way, sorry, we're back. You're not going to hear. I have to drop in a commercial here. So we're going to be right back. When we come back from the commercial, don't worry, I'm going to give you a warning. And it's going to be 5 minutes. I don't know if we're going to do the whole thing. So, but we'll be on the mic. So we'll be right back. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. No commercials ever. Isn't that great? $3 a month. We'll be right back with, oh my God, can you believe we're going to hear this? Okay, so here we are. We're getting ready to, again, trigger warning. We're getting ready. I know I'm saying this a lot. We're getting ready to listen, and I haven't heard it. We're going to be on the mic listening to it with you. This is a black bear being attacked by a pack of wolves. And then after that, there will be a section of the celebratory gratitude songs of the wolves enjoying the bounty, I suppose. So here we go. Let's start that recording now. I'm going to boost the volume a little bit.
My voice is going to come in high.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Sounds like a pack of wolves is eating a bear.
I mean, if I was in a tent and I was hearing those noises, that is harrowing.
This is recorded on my iPhone, and so I was absolutely paralyzed in the tent at this point, and it was so much louder than what it sounds like right now.
Oh, and it starts back up now. Okay, this recording goes on. This part, the fight for its life, goes on for another 2 minutes. So maybe I'll cut that here. I think unless there's something you think I should be letting this play.
I haven't listened to it in years, so I'm not sure.
I mean, I've never had more sympathy for a bear in my life than I do right now. I mean, that is those. Hold on one second. Just gonna let it play for another few seconds. Oh my God, there's something at the end there. Oh God, that's fucking chilling. Now we're gonna listen here. This is a short recording of the celebratory howling that happened 4 hours afterward.
Or 2 hours. 2 hours afterwards? I'm not sure.
God, just a chorus of wolf howls
Mm-hmm.
for 2 hours.
Yeah. So this is why I bought a field recorder after this experience.
I mean,
It's so faint.
that feels like a once in a lifetime kind of recording, though, right?
Absolutely.
And oh my God, I mean, like the brutality of nature. I mean, if you had to guess how, because that bear was coming into, if it was in fact the same bear.
True.
I don't know how many black bears are in a territory.
I don't either.
I know like mountain lions have some like 30 square mile or some crazy large field of like home base or whatever that are it's kind of their turf.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know enough at all about black bears, but if in fact it was that same black bear, it couldn't have been all that far away. I mean, black bears can probably traverse a great distance over the course of one day. But still, we're talking about within 15 miles probably, right? Easily.
Oh, yeah.
If not 5 miles. I mean, because that's far away. I don't think you could hear that 20 miles away.
No, this was less than a quarter mile of away.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I wish that the only recording device that I had, like I said, was my iPhone.
While you were inside your tent.
Yeah.
It's not like you went outside or even put it outside.
No, I was too terrified. I was just glued to my cot. And I didn't know how close it actually was until the next morning. And I think it was the same bear because she had really young-looking teeth. And the bear that was going through our garbage cans was like a young bear. But the next morning, I found bits of the carcass, and that was just by following ravens. And
what do you mean by that?
There was a group of ravens that were. I think I have that recording too, where I'm walking through the woods, recording myself saying, okay, so the ravens are interested in something over here. And there was this large patch of wild ginger that was growing next to the edge of this forest. And I saw the underside of wild ginger is white. And so it was like almost like looking at a trail that an animal had made or animals had made in this little clearing. And then it went into a specific spot down by this creek next to where I had been camping. And that's where the ravens were gathering. So I just followed the information and went down there and confirmed what I had heard the night before.
So it was a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
God. That is like... I'm hearing that in my tent at 2 a.m. and I'm getting in my car. I guess you feel a little bit safer in a automobile than you would in a tent, and obviously you're not the object of their affection at that moment, or destruction, I should say.
Right.
So there's that going for you, but the bone-chilling nature of the scenario that's unfolding very close to you, there's just no way to feel safe, right?
Right.
How many more nights were you camping after that?
I think 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
Nothing
How
as
often
eventful.
do wolves eat?
I don't know, but I saw a ranger a couple of nights after and told him about the experience, and he said, "Oh, that's Four Sisters pack." And I said, "Who's Four Sisters?" And he just said, "It's a pack that we've been, following and we're
a pack
aware
of wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those do not fuck with those Four Sisters.
No.
And it was a younger bear,
Mm-hmm.
so obviously targeted.
Yes.
God, that's just so bone chilling. Yikes. Now, I do want to get into a story that is obviously a little more paranormal in nature. Still frightening, and something that I can obviously relate to, and a lot of the people in the Bigfoot world can relate to as well. But I think we do. We're just gonna pause real quick. We're just gonna drop in one of those little ads right now, and just a reminder. The Spreaker has changed their policy here, so I have to drop in more ads. So we're going to do our damnedest. I'm going to do my damnedest, I should say, to try to keep this right at an hour, because I think if it goes over an hour, I have to do even more ads. So we're going to try to do right at an hour. Okay. So, and we'll give you updates later about some other things that are happening in the future, but patreon.com/Ryan Singer. We're going to be right back. $3 a month. You'll never have to listen to a commercial again the rest of your life, at least on this program. And I can't guarantee how long a life will last, just for the record. Okay, we're back. So, set the stage for me on, I believe you were zapped.
And today was the first time I've ever heard that word. I love it.
Okay, so, people in the Bigfoot world have a phrase for, God, I wish I could remember the, it's like a sonic resonance that just literally rattles your organs and your skeleton and stuff, right? But before we go into any more about that, set the stage for me and tell me what was going on here and when this was.
Okay, well, this was 1996. I had recently moved to Oregon. I was living outside of Ashland, Oregon, in a off-grid A-frame, and I was surrounded by logging roads and what was called Anderson Creek Road that just went up into the mountains.
So let me ask this quick question. What was up in those mountains? More people?
What?
Were there people up those roads?
On
On Anderson Creek Road that goes up into the mountain? Was there more people just living on the mountain?
No, it was just me.
It was just you. What does one do with their days living out there in an A-frame off the grid on a mountain in Oregon?
Well, I was trimming cannabis for someone named Charlie Skywalker. I have no idea what his real name was, so
I was like, damn, okay, we're dropping his whole name here. Okay, so Charlie Skywalker was supplying you cannabis somehow. You would have to go pick it up or get dropped off or what?
No, I would ride my bike down to his place and
pick up a bunch of weed and...
No, I would just trim down there, okay, and then ride my bike back home, and it was a simple life.
Okay.
It was a beautiful life.
No shame in that game, right? I was just curious. Like, were you out there, like, was it some Thoreau shit? Or, like, people might have been wondering, like, well, okay, so what are you doing out there?
It was some Thoreau shit. I had just graduated from high school, and I had planned on doing NOLS, the National Outdoor Leadership School, just like learning how to be a wilderness woman, basically. But I couldn't afford it, so I just made my own adventure and drove a van out west from Wisconsin and found myself on a mountaintop in Oregon.
This is a very, this is what we would classify as a bold move. Right?
As a stupid move. Yeah.
It's like, they say fortune favors the bold, but this is a bold move for a freshly graduated, basically, we're still kids when we graduate high school.
Yeah.
And, to make that move, that's bold. Mm-hmm. I applaud that. I admire such a move. So, okay. So we've set the stage a little bit. So you're young. Mm-hmm. You're living on a mountain.
Yes.
You're trimming weed for a guy named Skywalker.
Yeah.
And then
how would I spend my days when I wasn't trimming weed?
Well, no, yeah. So, like, I'm guessing this is one of those days, right, where this happens?
It was. I just decided to go on a bike ride, and I followed a logging trail down this path, and I saw 2 coyote pups just frolicking with each other. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. They were backlit. It was like a PBS special. There were insects. I can picture it so clearly right now. It was so lovely. And I just sat in that moment for as long as I possibly could. Their mom came out of their den that was in the hillside. She yipped at them, and they raced each other back to her.
These
it was
coyotes
just like,
were living in the Shire, essentially.
yeah, it was so
they were living their best lives.
They really were. It was so beautiful, and I felt so grateful to be able to have experienced it. And after they were gone, I just kept going down this logging trail, and it went into a smaller trail, and I had to pee, so I got off my bike, and as I was setting it down, there was brush in front of me, like right in front of like a pine forest. And as I was setting my bike down, it was like 10,000 mouths suddenly just like screamed their fucking guts out at me, into me. And this was probably earlier than 10 o'clock in the morning, broad daylight. I'm looking at absolutely nothing at all. And there was absolutely nothing I could do other than just automatically get on my bike and pedal my ass out of there as fast as I fucking could. And I haven't told this story other than to a handful of friends and you, friend. But it's difficult to describe, and I was having a hard time articulating just like how paralyzing it was and how terrifying it was, because I've heard like I'm a big punk fan, and this was a sound that was more than it shook my fucking core. It was, I don't know how to put words to it. I don't word good. That's why.
Well, I mean,
that's why I'm an artist.
I mean, what you're describing is, it's, obviously it's unique in its details, but it's like textbook. This is some textbook Bigfoot stuff here. You're like off a logging road. You're by yourself. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. And that's the thing about some of the most compelling encounters with what we believe are likely Sasquatch or Omar Bigfoot is that it's completely unexpected. Like daylight, morning.
And I had just been experiencing the most joyful moment. I went from this like super high, life is so beautiful, that was absolutely incredible, I'm so grateful for this experience, to completely off guard, just like setting my bike down and having my soul blasted into a million pieces by an unseen force.
Yeah, and you touched on a very interesting aspect of a lot of these experiences. It's you let your guard down, right? And I know for me personally and from other people I've talked to, it's when you're not thinking about anything about this. These are when they happen. And so oftentimes it's like it's one of these paradoxes about even going on expeditions or investigations. It's because we know somewhere deep inside of us, we know that most often, usually, if not all of the time, these experiences happen when we're not trying to get them or we're not trying to find evidence of them, right? And so knowing that, it makes one be like, well, why would I ever go on an expedition? Right? But even within those moments of being on an expedition, you let your guard down and you're just doing stuff. You're just hanging out. with your buddies, or you're talking about something and it's totally unexpected, and then bam, it gets dropped on you, and you're not ready for it. And that's an interesting part of the phenomena that I would attribute to the trickster, the trickster side of things to a certain degree. I do think there's a sense of humor, but I think there's also a get out of my yard aspect that maybe it kind of, there's a vibe of like, what are you doing you got too close to something.
Right.
And my guess is you weren't looked at as a threat from the get-go, because you were, if I had to guess, this is all speculation, you were noticed long before this happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your presence was broadcasted loudly and clearly to whatever this was, long before you stopped your bike and got off to take a whiz.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until that happened and you just happened to pick that spot.
Yeah.
Where, who knows, maybe they had one of their young sleeping, or you got too close to like a kid, which would elicit an extreme reaction from most wildlife, whether it's bears or other animals. Like even a squirrel will try to take on a human being if you get close to its baby.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this seems like an extreme reaction for something. You're not even out there messing around you're not provoking, you're not messing around, meddling. You're just trying to take a whiz.
Yeah.
So to me, that seems like you got too close to something. Or it was in one of those moods. But something interesting happened to you after this as well.
Yeah.
You pedal off, and then what happens?
I throw up.
And while you're riding your bike, or do you have to stop? Like it's like one of those things where you're like, your whole body's just like.
Yeah, I got off my bike. It was just too much.
How long did that take between the time you got up, got away, and then had to get off and throw up?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Time is weird thinking about that moment, but I would say
clearly far enough away to where you weren't like, oh my God, I can't get off my bike right now because this thing will get me.
Yeah. And because there was no movement in the bushes at all, I was questioning, like, what am I experiencing right now? I was looking back constantly as I was pedaling away. It was
nothing trailing you.
Nothing trailing me. There was, no sign of any physical thing ever being there. But I felt the sound with my body.
And you threw up.
And I threw up.
I mean, you got zapped. I mean, and I think, it's just, and I will admit, it's kind of fun to say you got zapped to somebody, but experiencing that is not fun at all.
No. And
this reminds me of an interesting, because the throw up part to me is a very important detail to the whole thing, because there's a story about the Florida location that I go to, and the woman who lives there was out in the front yard with her dog at the time. This beautiful, great golden retriever named Ozzy. Ozzy was a barometer for weird things happening, and you could always tell if something was happening because Ozzy would start acting weird. Anyway, I think it was one of the first times that she heard the growl from something outside, and they go inside as quickly as they can. Ozzy is visibly shooken up by the growl and is just kind of shaking and throws up on the kitchen floor. Not only throws up, but throws up blood.
What?
So there wasn't blood in your vomit on this day?
No.
Okay, good. But yeah, so Ozzy is then throwing up blood on the kitchen floor after the growl experience in the front yard of their house, which is terrifying. But to elicit a throw up out of a audible, I don't know, I want to say projectile, right? It's like this noise was projectiled at you.
Yeah.
And now you've projectiled from within you.
Right. Like
it
Stand By Me.
Right? it rattles you so badly, it rattles you loose inside.
Yes.
And it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I never want to be so scared that it makes me throw up. That's like some next level zap. I think we got to do it. I think we got to stop for another break. I don't remember when we stopped last, but I think it was at least 10 minutes ago. So, oh my God. I mean, that story, I've got follow-up questions.
Good.
And we're going to get into those right after this quick break. Again, Patreons. 3/4 of a pale ale, and I can't say patron. But I got kind of an empty stomach.
Yeah.
17,000 steps today.
It's a lot.
That's living the life. Oh, I slept in my car for the first time. It was great. We'll talk about that probably next week. Anyway, we'll be right back. Okay, so I got some follow-up questions here. I'm here talking with my buddy Agnes about getting zapped. And 1996, fresh out of high school.
Yep.
Riding a bike on a logging road, you see a beautiful scene. David Attenborough was there narrating the majesty of these coyotes living their best life in a magical wonderland that akin to the Shire.
Yes.
Next thing you know, Gandalf shows up and says, there's some problems. Sauron is back. So, after this experience, what is your vibe in the woods?
Not exactly comfortable.
Okay.
I try to rationalize it. I start to look up and research what animals are in the woods. The closest thing that I can come up with is an elk. And I'm like, what? I listen to elk calls.
Elks apparently make some pretty scary noises, but
this was not an elk.
But this was not an elk.
No. I tell friends in the area, and these are local people that have grown up there. My friend Django had his immediate response was like, "No, that's Sasquatch. That's Bigfoot, man."
There's a certain there's a nonchalance and acceptance, and there's an obviousness to many people who grow up in these areas.
Yeah,
and it's not ridiculous.
No, not at all. In fact, well, I didn't have very many friends. I was a hermit and trimmed cannabis for Charlie Skywalker, who he would set up these 3-dimensional branch structures in order to get Sasquatch onto his property. I don't remember his whole story, but he thought that Sasquatch was an interdimensional creature.
See, he's Charlie. You know, I got to say this.
Yeah.
Charlie Skywalker is ahead of the curve on this. So Charlie Skywalker in 1996 is setting up 3-dimensional tree structures, which many people would argue Sasquatch used tree structures to either mark territory or to communicate messages potentially. Charlie Skywalker thinks that they're essentially interdimensional creatures.
Yes.
And that these structures somehow are gateways or keys to allowing them entrance and passage into his property because he wants to hang out with them? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. He wanted his weed to be infused with the essence of Sasquatch, basically.
I don't know where Charlie Skywalker is, but I need to know him.
Yeah.
He
was great.
Okay, good. I'm glad you gave me that clarification because I'm hoping you weren't going to be like, well, before you talk about me and Charlie, I'm glad that you said this guy is ahead of the curve by 20 years by most accounts. There are still hardcore Bigfooters who will not even have the conversation about Bigfoot being paranormal in any way whatsoever. Flesh and blood. One of my good buddies, Alex, is a very flesh and blood, missing link kind of guy, right? Mm-hmm. Charlie Skywalker is like an oracle.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Charlie Skywalker is setting up his own, he's not just saying it, he's doing it. Mm-hmm. He's putting into action what his beliefs are.
Yeah.
That to me is special. Because we
Absolutely.
can all say stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing it? Charlie Skywalker, if you're out there, Charlie, old Chuck Sky,
You know who you are.
that is incredible.
Yeah. Sweetheart
Okay.
of a guy.
Okay, so he's setting up three-dimensional structures, tree structures on his property because he wants his cannabis infused with the essence of Sasquatch.
Yes.
I couldn't make this up. This is beautiful.
I couldn't even make this up, and I'm Irish.
And we all know everything that's ever come out of an Irish person's mouth is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I'm 50% Irish. But, so half of what I say is true. Or is it the other way around? No, that's not true. Half of what I say is a lie. Well, you believe what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The story doesn't need to be embellished.
Charlie Skywalker wants his cannabis infused. Okay. I have to move on from this because I could just sit with this for hours.
I have so many stories that just branch off of this.
Okay, so, but the point is, these experiences, the point I'm getting at and what I wanted to really touch on for people here is that no matter how comfortable you are or think you are in the woods and in the wilderness and being one with it, and it's natural, the more time we spend away from it on the concrete, the less comfortable we feel in nature, but the more time we get back to it, the better we get at it again.
Yeah.
Even someone who's living off the grid on a mountain in the middle of nowhere can be shook, right?
To my core.
To your core. And it's going to take a minute to get back to a place where you're not even thinking about that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's true. I had a similar scare that happened. My boyfriend and I were in the cabin that I was living in, and suddenly the dogs, ourselves, we instantly found ourselves with our back up against the wall for no reason.
Now, is this after?
Yeah, this is after, and this is shortly after.
Okay, well, that's interesting. That even becomes even more sordid of a tale because, there are... Okay, just continue.
Okay. Well, it was a terrifying experience, and it wasn't windy. We had no idea why we were suddenly all terrified at the same time. I grabbed a knife and put my back up against the brick fireplace. Like I felt like I was desperately in danger. It was just super sudden, and then it was gone. And I was like, what the fuck
is
was
going on?
that? It was like some crazy evil thing just like flew through our cabin. And I remember afterwards being like, what the fuck was that? And my boyfriend being like, I don't know. I don't want to know. Maybe the dogs were getting spooked. I don't know. But, and they spooked us somehow. But right after that, our cabin had a propane explosion, and the entire inside was just gone, including my cat. It was a crazy fucking experience. And then, yeah.
There's something about an invisible alarm or an inaudible alarm system going off, right? That is ultra terrifying. This is like this gets away from like a sci-fi movie, and now it's a horror film.
I can bring it back to sci-fi pretty quickly.
Well, I'd be interested to know exactly what you mean by that. But when two people are just hanging out, what's happening here? Like you're just hanging out, sitting around, or what's going on? You're on the couch?
Yeah, we were inside. It was fall. I was reading. We had a propane lamp.
Daytime, nighttime?
Nighttime.
Even worse.
Yeah. I remember the
you.
sun had set early, so it was probably late fall, early winter.
No weird noises outside.
No weird noises. And if there were any visitors whatsoever, we could see them coming a mile away because we were up there and nobody else was. Especially at night, you can see headlights and what have you. But it may have been the Sasquatch-infused weed that eventually I came to understand that experience in a completely different light, which was, I don't remember if this was a dream. I think it was just a dream that I had where I was a giant pink Sasquatch out in the middle of space. And I flew in through that cabin like a motherfucker, trying to warn me to get out of there because there was going to be a propane explosion.
So what you're telling me is that your interdimensional self,
Mm-hmm.
because time's not linear,
No.
came to you in a dream,
Mm-hmm.
or you saw in a dream what you would be doing or what you had already done.
Mm-hmm.
You came through to try to give yourself a warning
Mm-hmm.
to get out of the house before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it was you.
Yeah.
It was you who scared the shit out. So your dogs probably would even recognize your interdimensional self. That's why they got spooked.
Yeah.
Just because it's a different energy, maybe, or it's something that's not usually. So you had a dream.
I turned myself into basically like an energy comet and sailed myself right through that A-frame on the top of a mountain outside of Ashland, Oregon.
How long was this? How long after the explosion was this dream?
20 years.
Jesus. Like if it was 2 days, I'd be like, holy shit, like that's incredible. 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it take so long for some of these things to happen?
I don't know.
I can't wrap my brain around that because here's the thing too. It's funny that you said Sasquatch initially, like you turned yourself into a pink Sasquatch and flew through the, because this happened when you got spooked. Happened within weeks after the bike accident.
Yeah.
See, now after you're telling me this dream, now it's trying to change all these ideas I have. But because here's what seems interesting is that once you get zapped, once you're marked, I mean, there are some schools of thought, I suppose, that would say once you get got, you're going to get got. Like, you're going to keep getting got, right? Like, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. It's like this is how we talk when we were kids. Like, you're going to get got, you're going to get got. And you're going to keep getting got. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got, and now you're getting got again. And it's just because now you got, so everyone knows you can get got.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense. 3/4 of a pale ale, and I go back to Kettering, Ohio.
Totally fine.
1989. So, it's one of these things like you can't unring a bell, right?
Right.
Like there's that old saying. Once you have an experience of like an extreme magnitude, it's like there's almost like a signature, like a resonance signature or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you are kind of tapped into the unseen and the unknown.
Yes.
And it's no surprise at all to hear that very shortly after that there was another very unexplainable, strange situation that unfolds. And I guess it's even less surprising that it's yourself in a weird interdimensional way from the future past or whatever. I don't even know how from the future.
How do you even make sense of this? I don't know.
I don't know how to make sense of that other than
Charlie Skywalker.
Charlie Skywalker was onto something.
Yeah.
That is okay. So yeah, you're right. You did bring it back to sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
That is bonkers.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got time for one more.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember one of the first ones you told me. And I don't recall it at all right now because I can't get this pink comet Sasquatch out of my So in '96, you were up there. Then the cabin explodes, burns down. You leave that area. And that's after getting zapped. So you part ways with Charlie Skywalker.
Yeah, sadly.
And then 20 years later, you have the dream. So is there anything else that ties into that narrative, that trifecta of a storyline there that has happened, or these other experiences that are kind of like separate?
Well, I recently had a reading.
Well, let's discuss that.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping you would get into here.
Okay.
So you recently have a reading, and this is very recently, right?
Yeah, I think it was just last week.
Okay.
And it was Dr. Foster, who had been on your show, and she mentioned her connection with Bigfoot, and it sounded so similar to my experience. And I think I sent you a text. I was like, I really hope she confirms I'm a pink Sasquatch being or something like that. And right off the bat, she did. She talked about my interdimensional
hybrid self.
Yeah. And
of a specific color.
Of a very specific pink magenta color. I have to show you, remind me to send you the self-portrait that I did.
After the reading?
No,
before?
I did this years ago. I think in 2010. It's just myself as like this stupidly grinning, pink, globby plasma Sasquatch.
Before the dream.
Yeah, before the dream.
It's like I don't know where one ties into the other, or where one ends and the other one begins now.
That's yeah.
So, there's multiple people who have had readings from Dr. Foster, and no one seems to think that they're anything short of exceptional.
Yeah, beyond exceptional. She was talking about my experience that I've had. She told me that I was marked, and that I would continue to have experiences.
What?
Yeah, she told me that I was marked by.
Okay, so so after I'm talking about the resonance signature or whatever that you got, and then once you got. So basically, she's saying once you get got, you get got.
You're right.
She said you got, so now you're gonna keep getting got.
Mm-hmm.
So she said that in your reading.
Yeah, she did.
But probably in a much more eloquent way. So elaborate on that a little bit for me.
She was talking about. She was just basically confirming, but through her, I couldn't talk during the reading. She was saying, yeah, you have experience with interdimensional beings. You see fairies, you see Bigfoot. They're friends of yours, and you know how to reach out, and you can create portals, and your art is a portal, and if you need to communicate with them, this is how you do it, and blah, 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 blah. She was basically validating my entire experience that I haven't expressed to anyone. So it was just such a warm, beautiful thing.
And I love this idea that art is a portal, too, because, that's actually in the Rick Rubin book. Rick Rubin says, or he writes, but he also reads. He reads his own book. But for the audio version, where he says, art is a portal to the unseen. And I love that phrase. Mm-hmm. And it resonates with me, and I believe it, with my whole entire being, that is true. And that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I believe she's right. And I believe Rick's right as well. There's something about art being able to, put words to the things that words can't do.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, but for a different idea you have. And there's something miraculous happening, and there's something very, very magical about art. And, you know, and I don't think we'll ever lose that as people. As much as the world, you know, there's like, as much as the world has become like content driven and be a content creator, not an artist, you know, that kind of thing. Art's never going to go away. And art's needed. You know, like, you know, Instagram reels, they're not going to be dug up by, you know, aliens in 15,000 years and be like, this is what their culture was. You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe there'll be a meme on there or something. Right? But at the end of the day, you know, there's certain things that are made for the moment, and there's certain things that are made that are timeless.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at art as being timeless. And that's not to say that, you know, it's not a life worth living to be, you know, create momentary moments of happiness for people, and memes or reels or whatever, those are bringing people joy on a daily basis. But when I think of art, and maybe it's an outdated definition, but it's something more timeless than that, right? That doesn't need context.
Right.
And that's when the portal idea comes in, because that transcends time, space. It elicits something, creates something. It's a doorway. It's a passageway to whoever's watching it, to inside their own self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also into another person, potentially into all of us. But that's really cool stuff. I mean, we gotta end this. I can't believe it's been an hour. I probably didn't do enough commercial breaks. Oh, wait. Why is the beginning music coming on?
It's them.
Okay, I'm just going to trim that. We're going to act like I never even said that, but you'll hear me say it, and you'll be like, what's he talking about, the beginning music? It doesn't come on. The real music's about ready to come on here in a second. Y'all will hear it. Now you probably hear it. Okay, Agnes, this has been great.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been fun.
And I'm about ready to throw down a pint of Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah, me too.
Update. The investigation at Mutilation Ranch continues. There will be updates about what's going on out there. Needless to say, there will be some searching happening over the next couple days, and I'll update you about some of those details coming up. I don't have I got to look at my phone to see if I've heard back from my buddy Greg. I haven't yet, but we'll be at Mutilation Ranch tomorrow. So by the time you're listening to this, potentially it'll be boots on the ground at Mutilation Ranch tomorrow. And obviously, if any crazy breakthrough happens, you'll be updated immediately. And we'll have to do this again sometime, because there's a bunch of other stories.
There are.
So, and if you're listening out there and you have stories and you'd like to share them with me, you should reach out. You should find me on Instagram, me and Paranormal You, or Rai Singh. You can reach out and we can set up an interview time. I will be back in Los Angeles here in a couple days, and I'll be set up shop, and I'll be back on a regular schedule. I'm looking forward to that. So I hope to see you at a comedy show sometime, and I don't know if you live in Los Angeles out there, but if not, I'll be back on the road over the holidays at the end of the year, and then early next year. So, but if I don't see you at a comedy show, I guess I'll just see you at the watering hole on the astral plane. In the meantime, take care of yourself. How about that? Do yourself a favor. If you're lactose intolerant, I got a buddy who does the dairy-free Ben & Jerry's pints.
Charlie Skywalker, if you're out there, contact Ryan.
Oh my God, Charlie Skywalker, if you're out there, contact me. Holy shit. Oh my God, we have to reach Charlie Skywalker. That's a great intention to set. Charlie Skywalker, dairy-free Benny J's. Benny J's?
Yeah.
Is that what I called it? Benny J's? You know, live your best life. Take care of yourself, and and we'll talk again soon.